Hey guys, Dov here with another Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer battle. We're here today with the High Elves, as per some of your request. Myself and some of you have recently noted that the High Elves are kind of one of the weaker factions in the game right now. I will say that all of the factions are good. You can certainly win with anyone, but High Elves tend to be a little bit on the short side, and after playing them a bit more recently over the past couple days, I have to say I agree. High Elves are weak. However, we can use this information to inform our decisions about army building and how we ought to play them as a faction. So the idea here is that since elves are weak, you want to take as few of them as possible. In this build here, I've only got 3 units of spearmen. The elves on horseback, of course, are less offensive because there are fewer of them in a unit. So we've got 1 unit of Reavers here, Lyrian Reavers, just the basic melee ones. And then I brought a whole bunch of units which are not elves. We've got a Phoenix, a Moon Dragon, and a Star Dragon. Of course, the nobles on chariots, again, less elves in the unit. Generally, the better the unit is. Only 2 elf boys on chariots here, so you know these guys are bound to be pretty strong. And Alariel, of course, one of the strongest casters in the game, is only a single elf. So basically, the less elves there are in a given unit, the better that unit is, which I think is great life advice. We're up against the Greenskins here. You can see I'm already trying to isolate these mobile units who are kind of isolating themselves apart from the rest of the army here. We've got some Wolf Riders, a Gobbo Big Boss, some Boar Biggins, a bunch of boys with chevrons, Orc boys. We've got 3 Black Orcs, Wurzag on foot, Boar Boy Biggins, and Big Boss Mobile Wolf Riders, Mangy Marauders, Death Screepers. But yeah, we're going to get an overcast Foz protection. Those Reavers did take it on the chin a little bit on that charge, but the Monster Mash comes in. The Flying Death Squad here, along with the 2 chariots and Alariel. 6 single entities all fighting right on top of these boys, and it's going to be way too much. I do have Arcane Unforging, but didn't cast it on Wurzag in time to stop that wasp, so that's going to be popped. Not the best for me, as the boys do come in and make direct contact with my line of spears here, but hey, I mean, it's just weak elven spearmen, right? So at the very least, they'll die slowly. We can crash over into this flank over here, start to just alpha strike units, just absolutely nuke them with multiple single entities, do a ton of burst damage. Over here, I'm going to leave these Reavers engaged. They have good enough combat stats. They can kind of fight these Boar Biggins and sustain combat decently. Flamespire Phoenix also fighting that Gobbo Big Boss, which is pretty good. Gonna breath attack on Wurzag, and since he's on foot, that did very little damage. He responds by zapping Alariel, and Alariel's actually taking a lot of damage here between that Effigy of the Git, the Black Orcs, slapping her around, and yeah, miscast damage as well. Just did a bunch of damage right there, overcasting Foz protection. Does give extra armor and melee defense to everyone though, which is very important, especially those chariots. I mean, a chariot with 60 melee defense and healing is just very, very hard for anyone to kill. Let's see here, we're going to have a Foot of Gork. I just barely kind of get my spearmen out of the way. They're still going to get hit a little bit by that, but it did also hit those Boar Biggins as well, so all's fair at the end of the day. Star of Avalorn healing that dragon, and oh man, look at that massive tail attack, just felling tons of models on a single swipe. Some of those Black Orcs got back up, but Star Dragons are just absolute powerhouses, and might as well just keep it in cinematic cam for most of this battle here. I mean, there's not a lot of tactics, I'm going to be honest. It's really just charge things around and try and keep everyone together as much as possible. You can see Alariel, the Star Dragon, the Nobles all fighting together here, kind of mutually supporting. We're going to come in with a massive Flaming Phoenix Feces bombing run, bombing out a ton of those Black Orcs and the Boar Cavalry as well. We won out on the low ground, and now up on the high ground here, that Moon Dragon can come over, maybe get a breath attack on these boys. Got a few more Flaming Phoenix Feces there, but unfortunately my spearmen are starting to break. Of course, weak elves to be expected. But that being said, Earthblood cast in here will heal up a lot of these single entities. That breath attack was one of the worst I've ever seen. Just completely missed 100%. But thankfully we can use the chariots and the dragons to just charge on in here. We don't need the fancy breaths. Phoenix also comes in, just all of the death and destruction as the weak spearmen run away, and all of the non-elf units continue to fight. Black Orcs here will be slugging it out. They have a good amount of weapon strength. You can see over time they will be beating down that Star Dragon, and of course these Death Creepers and the Mangy Marauders, I don't really have any way of catching them. They're going to be free to sit back here and fire. With Dance and Wurzag, God, goodness gracious, Wurzag is taller than these guys. And they count as large, technically. He does not. Just let's appreciate that. Take a moment to appreciate the fact that those units actually count as large, technically, and he counts as infantry. Anyway, a little bit silly there, but lots and lots of boys here. Black Orcs, Orc boys, all still slugging it out, but can they take down the Dragon and the Chariot squad? Chariots rolling around, getting some nice charge damage here and there. I'm basically just cycle charging them with them as much as possible. They can use them to go after routing units as well. Looks like we've got another FG to get here on this here Star Dragon. I'm going to throw that Foz Protection and also pop my second Star of Avalorn here to try and keep this thing online. That nice healing surge. Of course, it is taking a lot of damage. Those Black Orcs with their heavy weapon strength and armor-piercing missile fire, all of it combining to almost finish off my Star Dragon here, but close only counts with horseshoes and hand grenades. Getting a Star Dragon close to dead is not the same thing as getting it to dead, right? So, with my hero squad basically entirely intact, I think only the Phoenix is getting a little low right now, and even then, that thing has its own innate healing proc, so I don't really need to worry about it too much. Everyone else is still doing pretty healthy. A nice zap on the Star Dragon there does get him pretty low, but Alariel's at her healing cap. She's been able to tank out a lot of damage. Nice breath attack there, just kind of disrupting this advance. A lot of Greenskins units still on the field, but you can see they're just all so beat up. And Dancing Wurzag is going to make his stand, get bowled over by the Chariot. Alariel also comes in, a nice Star Dragon breath in the background, some boars charging through. But, oh man, that Star Dragon flying through the air and charging down here, that is a scary sight. Poor Wurzag. Whoop, and a swing and a miss on the charge, that's fine. So yeah, if you want to ask me how to play the High Elves, I think this will work for most matchups, to be honest. Especially because Alariel has Tempest, so if you're worried about getting challenged in the air, you can bring that and try and control your opponent's movements pretty effectively. Even against someone like Bretonnia, because of the way the damage scaling works on Tempest, I believe it would be super strong against something like Pegasus Knights or Hippogriff Knights even, so I think you'd probably be relatively safe in just about every matchup challenging in the air. Vampire counts could maybe give you some problems, but even then, I think you'd probably have the advantage due to the fact that the dragons all do fire damage versus Terrorgeists, which would obviously give you a damage boost there. But yeah, well played to my opponent. Sorry you had to go through that, but I just wanted to kind of prove a point that High Elves are indeed weak, and if you play High Elves with that in mind, they are very strong. If that makes sense at all. The elves themselves are weak, so you take all the non-elf things that you can. All the monsters, of course, mounted elves are decent. This build is illegal by some tournament sets. Certain tournament sets this would be legal. It does fulfill the minimum model count at the very least. But like certain tournament rule sets would not allow you to take all the dragons plus the nobles. Like, for example, the banner rules, Aerocrastic's banner rules, those count, I believe the Chariot nobles count as monsters, I want to say. I'd have to double check. It's limited in some way, I know. But yeah, anyway, in terms of the breakdowns, 108, 145 for the nobles, super powerhouses, 83. Some chevrons for the Star Dragon. Both the Star and Moon started out with 1 XP chevron, managed to gain another 2 over the course of the battle. Only 17 kills counted for the Flamespire Phoenix, but of course keep in mind that the Flaming Phoenix feces do not count towards the kill totals or experience chevrons, which is a little sad, to be honest, but hey, that's just kind of how it goes. As for my opponent, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, he killed all of the elves, but unfortunately wasn't able to kill the non-elves, which is kind of the whole point, right? So, thinking about things in a little bit more serious sense, I mean, seriously though, like, I think that really is the way to play the High Elves for the time being, because you just can't go wide. Like, you cannot go wide. You have the least cost-effective roster probably across the board in the game, which is one of the reasons why they're so weak. Like, none of their, like, Reavers, I would say, Illyrian Reavers 550, this is a pretty cost-effective unit, especially if you're utilizing that 40 charge bonus. As a shock cavalry, like it says right here, they're probably the only really cost-effective unit on this roster, in my opinion. The Noble Chariots, actually, with no abilities, 1,200 points, because they can function as anti-large and anti-infantry, actually are pretty cost-effective as well. But, I mean, none of these infantry are very cost-effective. In most situations, maybe in niche situations, they could do, you know, what they're meant to. But just generally, none of these infantry are cost-effective. Skirmishers can be, but same thing. You very much run into them not being cost-effective often. Cavalry, a little bit less so, but Silver Helms, just in comparison to a lot of other cavalry in this price range, really kind of fall apart. Compare them to like Empire Knights or, you know, Knights of the Realm, Black Knights. They're much worse in my opinion. The monsters, though, all these flying monsters are fantastic. Sun Dragons may be the weakest. Frostheart Phoenix is basically just a tank, a flying distraction tank, but the Star Dragon's one of the most powerful monsters in the game and super competitive when paired with either the healing of Teclis or Ilariel. Teclis, keep in mind, you do get the Kindle Flame as well for the dragons and for the Phoenix, the Fire Phoenix, so there's some good synergy there with Nets and Enfeebling Foe, or otherwise you can just go for raw healing and take Ilariel. Of course, that extra melee defense and armor for Phos Protection is quite useful. You can go for AoE damage with Banishment, Earthblood for more healing, Shield of Thorns for more mitigation, control the air with Tempest, and control your opponent's abilities with Arcane and Forging. So situationally, there are you know, reasons to take all of these spells, but in a given game, at least Phos Protection and Earthblood are going to be your go-tos. And of course, you want that Shield Stone of Isha for the extra physical resistance, passive, and the Star of Averlorn. So yeah, that's basically how to play High Elves in a nutshell, in my opinion, at least in the current patch. Hopefully they get some more love in an upcoming patch with a possible Greenskins DLC. It's been rumored to be in the works forever. We'll see. I'm not expecting an announcement anytime soon, especially given that as I'm recording this today, Creative Assembly put up a post on Twitter seemingly teasing something with 3 Kingdoms. I'm not 100% sure. You guys can go have a look at that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. That's all for today. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.